Today, we're going to be going over the current version of Naraka Bladepoint and see if it's worth buying into in the year 2022. In the year 2022, Naraka Bladepoint is more than just a BR. It has a number of other game modes, such as a free-for-all one called Bloodsport, a Heroes vs. Zombie game mode, a campaign mode that's going to release in August, and a 1v1 tournament game mode where players 1v1 each other to see who's crowned champion among 16 players, which is amazing. So many players in other games I've played in the past have asked for a 1v1 tournament game mode, but this might be one of the few times the developers actually listen to its community and delivers. It's a very fun game mode and highlights Naraka's Bladepoint's combat pretty well. Speaking of which, Naraka Bladepoint's gameplay is rich with combat too. It does have ranged weapons, but its core combat centers around melee weapons such as nunchucks, spears, and an array of swords. Each melee weapon has unique vertical and horizontal attacks, which can be comboed or held down to initiate a focus attack. There's also a pairing system, where if you time correctly, your opponents will lose their current weapon and be open for a counter attack. On release, the pairing system felt very inconsistent at times, but it seems they have increased the activation window, which makes it a bit more reliable. However, some veterans have said that pairing can still be inconsistent at times. So I recommend not falling too in love with pairing, even though it can be very fun to do. As you climb in higher elos, movement with combos is the name of the game, and can deliver very satisfying moments as well. Kudos to the devs for at least trying to improve the pairing system in Naraka Bladepoint though. The core combat can be described as a rock, paper, scissors system, where normal, horizontal, and vertical attacks can beat parries, parries can beat focus attacks, and focus attacks beat normal, horizontal, and vertical attacks. This rock, paper, scissors system is easy to learn but hard to master, especially when you add in movement. This offers a lot of mental warfare against your opponent. However, there are certain weapons and buffs that do not follow this rock, paper, scissors system 100%, and in my opinion adds to the difficulties to an already skillful game if you're someone who doesn't read or watch guides on the game. Movement is another fantastic part of the game. You can slide, double jump, dodge, wall run, grapple, mantle, skywalk, and even rush off of walls. There are a few places on the map where wall running and climbing could feel a bit better, but overall, if you like movement in video games, the Naraka may be the game for you. There are a total of 15 weapons, 8 being melee and the other 7 being range, which is a good increase since the last time I played. It shows that the developers are still dedicated to updating the game. Based on streams and Reddit posts I've been in, the newer weapons added after the beta, such as nunchucks, dual blades, and daggers, seem to be the most difficult for new players to fight against, but higher skilled players can still dominate with the original weapons like katana and longsword. The greatsword is considered a noob killer, and new players will see a lot of them as you climb the lower elos. My advice is to learn how to counter them with training mode AI and YouTube guides that are around. Even though ranged weapons aren't used as much, the pistol and bow seem to be a lot of people's go-to. And if you're lucky enough to find one, the flamethrower and swarm can just shred through people's HP bars as well. Also, Naraka Bladepoint has unique elements in the Battle Royale to make the game even more unique than it already is. These include bounties, treasure hunts, loot caves, bells to reveal locations, and soul jades. The Soul Jade system offers players buffs in terms of added passives, HP increases, attack increases, as well as damage reduction from range and melee attacks. Each melee weapon has at least one Soul Jade that can change its focus attack into a different and at times stronger attack. The Soul Jade system could use a change, or at least the legendary ones in my opinion. I don't like the fact that it's so tied to RNG and that a combination of some buffs can make some engagements completely one-sided. I would prefer that some legendary Soul Jade types to be implemented into a weapon customization, like how characters' ults and skills are customizable, some of which may still need some more tweaking in terms of how much of an advantage they can give a player too. However, seeing how some of these Soul Jades are still in the game for this long, I doubt there will be any changes. Speaking of characters, also known as heroes, Naraka Bladepoint face customization is one of, if not the best I've seen in gaming. It also has been improved to a point where players on PC can share their creations for others to copy as well. It is better than a lot of MMOs I played in the past. However, the customization is only for the face and not the body to avoid hitbox issues. Nonetheless, you can create memeable characters such as handsome Squidward to stunning waifus and husbandos, and even godlike myths. The only thing limiting you is your creativity and time investment. According to many pros and skillful veterans, each character can be viable in trios, but in solos, some heroes' abilities are lacking aspects to be desired. Unlocking locked characters will give newer players an advantage in lower elos since other new players will be encountering them less and not as prepared for some of their attacks. You can unlock them quickly by doing character cultivations, which is a progression system that allows for heroes to unlock different variations of their skills and ultimates. At the end of the day, it's smart to play each character to see which one you'll like most anyways. Plus, as you can see on the screen right now, the art team at Naraka Bladepoint has done a fabulous job at creating lore and illustrations for each character. I do recommend checking them out once you have a chance. Mechanically, the map works well a lot of the time. There are a lot of vertical structures everywhere to utilize the many movement options Naraka has to offer. Aesthetically, the map follows a ruined, old, abandoned style in its landscape and structures. Despite this, there's a lot of locations that are still very vibrant throughout the map. Later in August, there will also be a new map for players to sink their teeth into, which looks like it will also be quite stunning. Before we start, I have to say, for most people, Naraka Bladepoint needs to be stored on a SSD and not a hard drive. If you do not have one or have enough space on a SSD for the 23 GB game, then you might want to skip this game until the devs can improve it on a hard drive. They already made some improvements since it released, but as you can see, playing this game on a hard drive is not the move. Series X players have reported poor optimization as well. However, for people who have space on a SSD and like games with movement, high skill ceilings, and are tired of shooters in general, then Naraka Bladepoint might be worth the $20 in my opinion. For casuals, it's a harder sell. There are game modes where you can have a more casual experience, like just fighting bots or playing the free-for-all mode called Bloodbaths to sink your teeth into. But I still don't know if it's worth it if you are a casual gamer. Also, to make note of, the Battle Pass does not replenish the gold you spend on it, and you would need to spend maybe around $20 just to get enough gold for it. There are loot boxes and gacha mechanics, but all of this is just cosmetics. Also, partying up with cross-platforms is currently impossible. So if you're a PC player, you will need to download the game through Xbox's PC launcher to play with your console buddies. The devs have said that they are aware of the problem and are working on it, but stuff like this can take a couple of weeks to a year to get settled and perfected. Another thing to make note of is that Naraka Bladepoint's player base and matchmaking is very dependent on when and where you play the game. If you do not live in China or a country near it, then expect to face long queue times and or games with a lot of bots in them. However, I must say at the start of each new update, the player base does increase a bit, to a point where queue times may be a little bit better. However, keeping all those players returning is truly up to the developers. This, in my opinion, is due to how they monetize the game, its optimization, weapon balance, and some in-game design choices. If you're still on the fence on getting the game at $20, you can spend $1 on Xbox Game Pass if you're on PC or Xbox for 3 months to give it a try. Trying it out for just $1, in my opinion, is worth it, and you can even cancel that subscription to get that dollar back if it means that much to you. It also goes on sale a lot on Steam, and you can also get a refund back in the form of a Steam credit. I personally enjoy Naraka Bladepoint despite its shortcomings, and I look forward to its new update celebrating its first anniversary on August 19th. I will be covering the game then, and to see if the devs are able to improve any of the cons that Naraka Bladepoint faced in the past. So feel free to subscribe if you want to see those future videos as well. But till then, stay safe, and I'll see you later.